Genesis chapter 8, beginning in that first verse, number 1. Genesis chapter 8, verse number 1, by way of introduction, says, imagine the feelings and emotions of Noah and his dear family, the restlessness they must have, that must have gripped their minds and hearts. Is it even possible to imagine what they experienced? We know if we left off in Genesis chapter 7, last week we left off Genesis chapter 7, and Genesis chapter 7 closes, Genesis chapter 7 verse 24, it closes, it says, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So God had been promising that it was going to rain. Noah has built this gigantic ark. The time came and God invited him and his family into the ark. He called all of the animals, and the animals came as God commanded, and everybody boarded the ark for safety. The rains began to fall, and everybody had to have been utterly amazed and shocked, having not ever seen rain before. But we saw God's grace and his mercy on display. 120 years or so it took Noah to build this ark. So that's 120 years people had an opportunity to repent, change their ways, and turn back to God, but they refused. And then even yet, the Bible told us last week that God waited another 7 days before the rain fell. Gave people a whole another 7 days to change their ways, turn from their ways, repent, turn back to God. And yet the people refused. And sooner or later, judgment fell. The wrath of God came. The waters began. And the Bible told us it rained 40 days and 40 nights. And I thought about that last week, man, as I thought about it, and I thought about it some more this week. I Googled and I looked at some of the, yes, sir. I looked at some of the floods and things that we've had throughout our time, throughout the centuries, throughout the years. And the one that, of course, in my lifetime, Hurricane Katrina just keeps sticking out to me. And, even though it was a hurricane, category 4, category 5, the people actually, they survived the actual hurricane. The actual hurricane, y'all, even though it had strong winds, a lot of water falling, they survived the actual hurricane. It wasn't until the levees broke. And when the levees broke and released all that water, that's what did all the real damage during hurricane.